All right, all right, all right. You guys ready? We are live. So I'm going to let some people get in here. And Felicia Killing's the first one in the room. All right. Okay, let's let some other people come in. Let me know you're live in the chats. Hit me up. And while you're at it, I need you guys to do me a huge favor. Since Felicia is here, can you please ask her to stop torturing me with this whole Derek Jackson thing? She's making me watch videos. She's tweeting about it. She keeps sending me this stupid Instagram posts. I don't care. Like, if the guy's a douche, the guy's a douche. I mean, maybe I should talk about it. I don't know. It's like it's torture, guys. It's like the social media version of Abu Ghraib, having to watch that stuff. It's not my thing. All right. Thanks, Wendy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I probably should wear baseball caps more often. Felicia's just being Thelma right now. Yeah. I don't know who Derek Jackson is. You know what? And you're a better person for it. I hesitate to even tell you about it because it's just like trashy people stuff, you know? I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Hey, it's not a stocking cap. It's a beanie. I've got beanies, not stocking caps. Don't make me come through this internet on you. All right. How was everybody's weekend? How was everybody's week so far, I should say? I keep thinking it's still Monday. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. You're terminally sorry. Yeah, I like that. All right, so let me go ahead and fade this out really quick, and then we're good. Okay, so got some things to talk about tonight, as usual. I'm going to go over a couple things first before I do. But first thing to get out of the way is I am rebranding the show. Been wanting to kind of do this for a while, especially when it comes to the name. And I just felt like I needed something that really represented me a little bit better and represented my brand, and also represents the people who watch what I'm doing and the people who consume my content. So after much deliberation and I went out to the mountains and spent time with a bunch of monks in a monastery to figure this out. Not really, but let's just say that I did. I've decided to go from breaking conservatarian, which I will miss, to a fresh perspective with Jeff Charles. That's what I'm calling this show now. This will be my normal videos, and I'm going to actually start being better about downloading the audio and uploading that as a podcast for you more auditory type of people. And I'm really excited about it. I mean, I decided to go with this because I think this really encapsulates what I do. I mean, I am a conservatarian, technically. I'm a conservatarian who has some libertarian leanings, but as you know, I'm not just here to, throw out the red meat. I'll throw you guys some red meat, but I'm also going to try to make you think as well. And, I don't always toe the right-wing line on a lot of things. So I feel like a fresh perspective is what we need. Not just myself, but everybody does. I think they always say, there's no money in nuance, or nuance doesn't sell, or whatever. But I don't know about that, because what I'm seeing is that people are craving something with substance, even if they don't always agree with it. So by going with more of a fresh perspective, I think that I can be one of the people who brings that to an audience that is craving it. So that's why I decided to change it. And I'm loving it so far. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Perspective. Yeah. If I had a nickel for every time I was called Jazzy Jeff since I was a kid, I wouldn't be doing this. Actually, I'd probably just be off on an island somewhere chilling. Carlton Conservatarian. Yeah, no. I mean, I am the king of the Carltons, though. The king of Carlton conservatism. That is me, but I didn't want to name my whole show after it because there's more to me than just my Carltonness. So I've rebranded almost everything, pretty much, even my locals.com community. And, you know, if you want to support me, the link to my locals community is down below. It is a freshperspective.locals.com. And if you want to support my work, I'll be uploading some members only content behind the paywall. Past couple weeks, I've been uploading more free stuff, and I'll still upload free videos and free blog posts, but I am going to start incorporating more paid content. So if you want to see that, you'll just need to sign up for a subscription. It's only $4.99 per month, just $5, less than a Starbucks coffee once per month, and you can support your boy. And you'll also get all the good stuff before anybody else does. And I plan to do a lot of other things like live chats, especially as I grow that audience more. I'll be doing some Q&As. They're going to be having some live stream technology so I can do this on my locals community for members. So it's going to be awesome. So definitely support me. Also, if you want to give a one-time donation, you can use the links up there. They're also in the show notes, the CashApp and Venmo. And I believe I have my PayPal in there as well. So really appreciate anything. And with that, let's get started. So, let me start here with, you know what, Felicia, you leave my magic jug alone, okay? It carries a lot of water. It keeps it cold. I can fill this up, leave it out overnight with a cap on, of course. And it's still like freezing cold the next morning. It's amazing. I love it. It's my favorite thing ever. So leave my jug alone, all right? All right. Okay. Hey, what's up, Mitchie? Glad to see you. All right. So, yes, all that counterfeit breaking conservatarian merch that you just ordered is worthless now. Yes, and you're stuck with it. So, you know, you can have the name. You can start your own breaking conservatarian podcast if you're more of a conservatarian. See, there's a silver lining to everything. Okay, now you guys are over here bugging me about my book. Okay, I am going to have it, all right? I'm working on editing it. I'm almost done. The thing is, I'm like the type, when it comes to this stuff, I'm very particular. Like, I don't want to put out a product that isn't up to a certain standard. So I have to like make sure that it's all right. And plus, this is my first political book, and it happens to be a satire on top of that. So I have to make sure that it's funny all the way through, which is not easy. So it's coming. It's coming. I promise. I promise. So you guys got me all out of whack here. What was I going to start? Okay. So I want to talk about Twitter. I mean, you've been seeing the issues with the child porn, and they got rocked last week. And no, it's not full of vodka, it's full of water. Gosh. They got rocked. I mean, you know that they're having issues with the lawsuit regarding child porn. They've been taking a lot of heat because they haven't been doing enough to ensure that child porn is not present on their platform. And I wanted to show you guys this video here. Let me bring it up really quick. And then I'm going to roll with that. And let me know if you can't hear me, because sometimes when I do this, people say they can't hear me anymore. So hopefully you'll still be able to hear what I'm saying.
Twitter.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
15 years.
Wait, let me rewind it back.
Happy birthday, Twitter.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
15 years already.
Crazy. Feels like just yesterday I was tweeting for the first time.
15 is such a fun age.
I had posters of boy bands all over my bedroom walls.
How are you going to celebrate?
I remember how I celebrated. Like other years, my dad took out the video camera.
I met up with a guy online.
A friend of the family took pictures of me, like he did most days.
He convinced me to get nude on camera.
I was groomed to be sex trafficked by a stranger. And then he sold me to a friend for $500. And when my dad put the recordings online,
These videos of me as a minor surfaced on your platform.
I tried to get you to remove the videos.
But you said they didn't violate any policies.
I managed to get out. But the videos of me keep popping up on your platform.
When I meet new people, I wonder if they recognize me.
One of the videos got tens of thousands of views on Twitter.
People don't realize how easy you make it for things to spread.
Those are the gifts you left for me. For the rest of my life.
15. Such a fun age.
Happy birthday, Twitter.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Twitter.
I hope it's a good one.
Yeah, so pretty heavy, right? And like it said at the end there, these were actors, but they were portraying actual victims here. And just for those who don't know what's going on with Twitter, they have had a very serious issue with illicit content being shared on their platform. Now, you can share pornography on Twitter. They do allow that when it involves consenting adults. The problem is that there are sex traffickers who are using the platform to disseminate child porn. Now, on one level, Twitter has to find this stuff before they can get rid of it, right? But there's a couple issues here. And it's not just Twitter. Facebook is having this problem as well as other platforms. And what's happening is that these people who were victims of sex trafficking when they were minors, some of them are still minors, the films that they were in where they were coerced into performing sexual acts are being disseminated. Now, Twitter does kind of have some sort of a system to weed this stuff out, but even if they had the most perfect system, they're not going to be able to catch everything. But the issue is that when it's being brought to their attention, like it said in the video, the victims are telling them, hey, this video was me. I was 13 years old. I was 12 years old. I was 14 years old. And this video of me is being circulated on your platform. Can you take it down? And Twitter will say no. Now, this issue was worse than I thought, because I knew there's a lawsuit against Twitter from a kid named John Doe, because he's still a minor. He's 17 years old. And they can't release his name, obviously. So he and his mom filed this lawsuit because of the situation that I just described. He was 13 years old in this video, and it's being disseminated on Twitter. And they asked Twitter multiple times to take it down, and they said it didn't violate their terms and conditions. So let's just let that sink in. Child porn did not violate their terms and conditions. Twitter refused to take this particular person's video down until they managed to contact somebody from the Department of Homeland Security, had that agent call Twitter, reach out to them, then they finally took it down. And this kid and his mother, they're suing Twitter. Now, this is something that Eliza Blue has really been putting out there. I saw somebody mention her in the chat. And we're talking, we're going to have her on my show hopefully pretty soon. But I want to talk about this as well as other issues related to human trafficking. One thing that people don't know about me is that I don't talk about it as much as I used to, and I'm starting to talk about it more. But I hate human trafficking. That's like been a thing for me for years. Like before COVID, when they had the walk for, I can't remember what the name of it is, the Walk for Freedom by A21, which is an organization that are basically made up of abolitionists who are help get people out of forced labor, slavery, because modern day slavery still happens even in the United States. I was down with that walk. I wrote about it. There was a whole march around the Texas Capitol. They didn't do it last year for obvious reasons because of COVID. But I've written several articles for Liberty Nation about human trafficking, especially when it comes to how people are trafficked over the border, not smuggled, but trafficked. There's a difference. And I'll save that for when we have Eliza on the show, and she can break that down in detail. But it is one of the most atrocious criminal enterprises in the world. I mean, you've got minors, little girls, little boys being trafficked for sex acts, for pornography, for strip clubs, prostitution, what have you. You also have people being tracked for forced labor. I've written on that as well. People getting smuggled over the border thinking that they're just going to come into the country and get a job. And they're coming here legally, but still they end up having their passports taken away, and they have to work almost for free on these farms or in different areas or as maids, things like that. And it's really horrible. I mean, we abolished slavery in 1865, right? Or around that time, but we still have slavery happening on American soil. And it is so prevalent that depending on the state that you're in, especially here in Texas, there is a very high likelihood that you might be living across the street from an actual slave. So this is an issue that I'm passionate about, and I am going to be doing more content on it because, frankly, I hate it. Like, just you read some of these stories, and it will break your heart. Even that video is heartbreaking. But just to go back to Twitter, what I didn't realize at first was that there was more than John Doe that asked Twitter to take their videos down, and they refused. This doesn't make sense to me. I mean, because at first when I heard about the first kid, and by the way, I hope these other people sue Twitter as well, not just this one person. But it's like, why? Who was the person that said no to that? If somebody says, "Hey, guess what? I'm 17 years old, and you got a video of me when I was 13 performing sexual acts with another teenager, and it's going on your platform. Can you take it down?" Who was the person that said no? I mean, I would think that. I mean, if I worked at Twitter and somebody put that there, even if like Twitter did say it didn't violate their terms and conditions, wouldn't you want to remove that anyway? I mean, do the guy a solid. I mean, 13 years old, that's insane. And like the people in the video said, they have to worry about being recognized. As a matter of fact, the John Doe, when this video was getting disseminated on Twitter, he was getting harassed, he was getting teased, mocked by sick people. He got to the point of where he was suicidal. It's a serious issue, and Twitter is going to have to account for this. I don't see how they get out of this. Last time that I talked about this, I believe it was last week, Twitter had filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit under Section 230 of the Decency and Communications Act, which we hear about that a lot, right, as far as censorship goes. And again, I'm like I said in the last video, I'm not a lawyer, but they basically said this is covered under 230 because we can't be expected to catch everything. But that's not what the lawsuit alleges. The plaintiff is going after them because they were they were notified about it, and they refused to take it down. So, like I said, I'm hoping other people sue them. But here's the thing. I mean, and I don't want to bring too much politics into this particular issue because this is bipartisan, but we already know where this goes, right? I mean, they literally think that conservative opinions and conspiracy theories are worse than child porn. What other conclusion can we draw? It'd be one thing if they banned that. I mean, it's still wrong, but it'd be one thing if they censored content that they don't like based on political affiliation, but then they also went after child porn. And if somebody tells you, hey, that's child porn that you have on there, they would at least take it down. No, they literally think that they're literally approaching this like conservative opinions and conspiracy theories are worse than child porn. It makes absolutely no sense. So they deserve all the heat that they're going to get. And I've been seeing some rumblings of this nature as far as Facebook goes. So I'm going to wait until that comes out. But we need to understand that the issues with social media aren't just about censorship. It's about what they actually are allowing on their platforms as well. So let me take a look at the chats here. Okay. Yeah, Liza Blue is ripping him up over child porn, definitely. Let's see. Yeah, it is messed up. Here, this illegal act is not against their terms of service, but don't ask any questions about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, in the back page thing, which I understood. I mean, there were some people that were against it because it can harm actual legitimate sex workers. That is a whole debate that's in that world. I see Eliza get slammed on that all the time. They pretend like she's like against legitimate sex work with adults. It's not true, but that is a debate that's going on in that community. Let's see. Does Section 230 include illegal acts they've been notified about? See, and I guess that's what's going to be determined by this lawsuit, because I'm not sure that it does. I mean, if it does, then there's yet more of a reason to change Section 230. I mean, it's one thing if you don't know about it and you just didn't catch it. But if somebody tells you that you have illegal material, illicit material, and you refuse to take it down and said it didn't violate your terms and conditions, there's something wrong there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next thing here. Let me take this down. I want to talk about what you guys have been waiting for. So you guys saw me on Twitter dealing with these tweets about culture, right? Which cultures are better than others. And, you know, people on the right use their usual arguments to imply that Black culture is deficient, which, you know, that's what they do. Not all of them. I'm talking about, you know, the pundits, your favorite pundits. And one of them, named Lauren Chen, posted out a tweet about Asian culture. So I didn't really weigh in that much on it because I wanted to wait until I did a live stream. I did ask my audience what they thought of what she tweeted. Let me go ahead and pull that up. So the first one, can you guys see this? Okay. The first one was, or the first one that I saw was, Asians are successful because our cultures tend to value family and education. It's not because white people treat us better as pet minorities or some other garbage. It's freaking ridiculous that I even need to explain this. All right. Then we've got, Asian Americans faced systemic racial oppression in America. Now they're one of the most affluent ethnic groups. What makes this story different than that of so many Black communities? Did white people just wake up one day, look at Asians and go, nah, you're cool now? I mean, this really isn't funny. I mean, this level of ignorance is not funny, but I laugh at it anyway. Now, this is one responding to somebody else. First-generation African immigrants like Nigerians aren't successful because they value education and family. No, they simply haven't been stopped by the whites yet. And then she continues, quick, you whites need to step up your game. There's Black people out there out-earning you. Now then, God, where do I even start here? I'm going to give you some facts. Facts and logic. Don't we love that, conservatives? We always talk about how we love data, facts, and logic. So I'm going to drop some of that on y'all. And then I'm going to get into my 3 points on this, because there's more to this than she's saying. And honestly, I don't think that she's deliberately keeping it out. I think she's just legitimately ignorant about this stuff. This is what happens when you don't read, folks. I'm just saying, you know, whatever. All right. So here's some statistics I'll read off to you. And by the way, the articles that I got these from are in the show notes right now, if you want to take a look at those when you get a moment. A lot of these come from Pew Research Center. So 72% of Indian immigrants have bachelor's degrees before arriving in the U.S. Indian is considered Asian. And by the way, she does say Asian, but I mean, that applies to a lot of different groups of people. So it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but that's okay. Now, 61% of Asians overall have bachelor's degrees before arriving in the U.S. 74% of the United States Asian population is foreign-born. That means that 3/4 of Asians in the United States were born in a different country and then immigrated here. Now, Asians did experience oppression by the United States government. They had officially sanctioned racial prejudice. You had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 that barred all new immigration from China. You got some other issues like the Immigration Act of 1917, National Origins Act of 1924, And this extended this ban to include almost all of Asia. Also, we have the internment camps during World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the internment of 120,000 Japanese Americans. Now that I've dropped some data on you, and by the way, I'd encourage you to read those links because it does have a lot of other data in there too. That was just generally very interesting as far as Asian attitudes towards family, culture, and work and things like that. And here's the first point. This first tweet is correct. She is accurate. She's not exaggerating. She's not lying. Yada yada yada. She's right. Asian culture is known for valuing family and valuing hard work, valuing marriage, all that good stuff. However, it is incomplete. It does not tell the whole story. So she's saying that Asian culture is better than Black culture and probably brown culture as well, because supposedly Black people don't value hard work and value family and all that good stuff. The usual, conservative Inc. talking points. But like a lot of other conservative influencers, she is leaving a lot of information out that is relevant to this equation. The bottom line is that Asians did not experience nearly the level of systemic racism that American descendants of slaves did. It is completely incomparable. You can't even compare the two. Most people know this. Asians were not enslaved en masse. They were not chattel slavery. They were not brought from another country. They didn't go through Jim Crow. They didn't go through redlining. They didn't go through all of the things that the government did to Black people. And that's just the government. They didn't go through the Ku Klux Klan. They didn't go through other hate groups that terrified Black people and clashed with Black people on a lot of occasions. Because, Black people weren't just running scared. They fought back too. But they didn't endure. I might get in trouble for this one. They didn't endure even 25% of what Black descendants of slaves experienced in the United States of America. The notion is absurd. Yes, they did endure racism. They're enduring racism right now. We're seeing it today. But the notion that they're somehow the same is false on its face. Let me go back to my stats, though. So here's the thing. She says Asians experience systemic racism. Well, I just told you that 74% of our current Asian population was born in a different country. If they experience systemic racism, they experienced it in their own countries. They didn't experience it here. And by the way, what I'm going to say next applies to Asians and also to Nigerians, because I always like to say, oh, well, if having Black skin or brown skin means that you can't make it in this country because of racism, why do Nigerians do so well? And by the way, I don't believe that racism is enough of a force to keep Black people from getting ahead. We've beaten racism over and over again. So that I'm not going full, SJW with this, but I am putting it in context. Racism is an issue. Racism still has an impact, especially on Black people. There's no denying it. Now, what I said about Asians largely applies to Nigerians as well. When Nigerians and Asians come to the United States, they're not, well, I'm going to sound like Trump right now. They're not sending their poor. They are sending their best. Like I said, 61% of Asians overall, they have bachelor's degrees before they ever even get here. And like I said, for Indians, 72% have bachelor's degrees before they ever even get here. Why? Because they already come from well-to-do families. We make the mistake of thinking that Nigeria is just such a poor country. It really isn't. They're not all living in huts over there, like the stereotype goes. If you pull up pictures of Nigeria, of cities in Nigeria, they got skylines that look a lot like ours. I'm not saying that they're as rich as the United States. That's not the point that I'm making, but it is not a poor country by any stretch of the imagination. It's got its issues. Nigerians have told me about it, and I've seen videos from Nigerians. I get that they have their issues. But the people that come here, most of them already come from well-to-do families. They're already set up. They've already got money. They don't descend from Nigerians who came here under Jim Crow for the most part. Same thing with Asians. So they didn't have a government that was specifically designed to oppress them. Now, I'm not saying that they don't experience racism, because they do. They'll tell you. But the legacy of slavery, of Jim Crow, of redlining, of a lot of the things that we deal with today, it just has not affected them the way it's affected African descendants of slaves. So again, the comparison is not apt. So I've been meaning to deal with this issue for a long time, because that is a very huge talking point. But again, it lacks substance. It lacks nuance. The people that use that talking point, like I said, they don't read. They don't go deeper. They don't ask, why is this happening? Why is it that Nigerians tend to do better than descendants of slaves? They just assume that, oh, well, that's a fact that they're doing better than a lot of descendants of slaves. Therefore, it must mean that ADOS people are lazy, or Black Americans are lazy, yada, yada, yada. I mean, they don't think deeper than the talking point, because the talking point is enough for them to spread their narrative. And you remember, I prefer truth over narrative. So this is the truth to counter that narrative. So Lauren Chen, I don't know what her deal is. She should be reading. I mean, she's Asian. She's supposed to be smarter than us anyway, right? I mean, why doesn't she do her research? I'm gonna get in trouble for that one too. I don't care. If she can talk trash about Black people, then I can talk trash about her in a way that compliments Asian people, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to go through there. But I just wanted to debunk that. It's important because, again, the more we misunderstand this stuff, the more racist we look. Again, I'm not saying it's fair, especially white conservatives. If you're repeating these talking points, you need to know that the people on the other side, the Black Democrats who might be conservative or moderate, they know that what you're saying isn't true. What I just told you just now, a lot of Black people know. So when they hear you spouting these talking points, I mean, they're going to think you're racist. Now, to be fair, a lot of them will be fair to you and just assume that you're ignorant, but that still doesn't make it any better. Again, my goal is to get more Black people enticed to come over to the right. Stuff like this type of ignorance pushes them away. It doesn't make them want to come to us. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Oh yeah, you had a lot to say about this one. Goodness. All right. Let's see. Yeah, she is Asian Canadian. But I mean, Canadians, I mean, they're diet Americans anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, she's a diet American. She's fine with it, as far as that goes. Yep, her remarks are full of ignorance. She's auditioning for a spot on Fox. That is the type of talking point that Fox tends to favor, definitely. Yes. But one thing I do notice, though, Felicia, is that they usually like that talking point coming out of Black faces, though. I don't know if Fox would bring on an Asian person to use that talking point. Maybe they would. Who knows? Let's see. I did tell my husband that hunting and fishing was a culture last night. Apparently, they don't do that type of thing in his family. That has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. But you are right. Hunting and fishing is a culture. I wish I had learned to hunt, but I never did. I do enjoy fishing, though. I did when I was younger. I haven't gone in decades. Funny how she didn't mention reparations for Japanese. You're not supposed to talk about that. And by the way, I didn't know that it was only 120,000 people, which, by the way, that is a lot. It was atrocious what FDR did. But I actually thought it was more than that. That being said, that was still a horrible thing. Japanese have experienced racism here. And I've heard other stories of Japanese people, just in society being treated badly because they were Japanese. So it's horrible. Actually, a friend of mine, an old friend of mine from back in the day, back in high school, Scott Higa, check out his podcast, The Christian Nerd. So you know why I get along with him, right? Because we're both nerds. Christian Nerd. And he talked about this last week and talked about, the discrimination that the Japanese have gone to. He's half Japanese. And basically what he was feeling about all of these attacks. So check him out. Shout out to Scott Higa. Last name spelled Higa. There you go. All right. Let's see what else you guys talking about. Let's see. We won't tell Tammy Duckworth. Oh, good God. No Asian Jim Crow laws, right? Nope, not other than the ones I listed off. I don't think that there were specific laws against Asians. There may have been that I just don't know about, but you're never going to convince me that they got it as bad as we did. She also failed to explain how higher institutions cater to international students and spend so much money attracting them. You're right, because I actually read about that too in some of the links that I put there. Also, businesses. to have an H-1B visa for certain types of visas, you have to have a bachelor's degree to even come over here on one of those. So yeah, so especially with Indians, I mean, a lot of them use H-1B visas, so they're already in a better position. Let's see what else we got here. Jillian, what are you talking about? Are you about ready to take over Cuba? We're talking about Asians, not Cubans. Oh, yeah, you just want cigars and cars. Of course you do. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait. This thing skips around sometimes when I don't want it to. See, now that's just wrong. The Asian Candace Owens. As a Nigerian prince, I must tell you that Nigerian prince that has contacted you is no prince. Yeah. See, it is a rich country because they get to scam us. They get to scam stupid Americans. All right. Let's see. Yeah, that's a valid point. Every group has experienced discrimination to varying degrees, but that's not to diminish what slaves endured in the U.S. and elsewhere. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we have a highly accomplished Nigerian family in my church. Great members, heavily involved. Yeah, I mean, Nigerian has a lot of those same values that Asians do. So I'm not knocking Nigerians. I'm just saying the comparison doesn't make sense. Not the way people on the right think it does. All right, I'm going to move on. What else I got here? I wanted to talk. Oh, yeah, that's right. We got to talk about Black culture. Conservatives seem to be confused as to what Black culture is. This isn't because, well, conservatives are very confused about what Black culture is. They just are. And you know who I blame. I blame your pundits. Once again, they're out there making you look stupid. Your pundits are out there making you look like racists. Their ignorance is hurting you, white conservatives. I'm talking to you. I did a video earlier this week on locals.com, and I told you one of the reasons why I'm coming so hard against this stuff. I do have other reasons, but one of them is because I know you're tired of being called racist all the time. I'm sick of it too. I'm tired of you being race baited. Now, I'm not saying that if these pundits actually, got their shit together and started actually giving you guys facts, that you wouldn't still be called racist. Remember, the far left, they love racism. They love it. So they're still going to call you racist, but they're going to have a lot less ammo. And it's going to make it a lot easier for people like me to defend you. And it's going to make it easier for you to defend yourself. So Black culture, what is Black culture? Black culture is a lot of things. It's an integral part of overall American culture. I mean, you talk about hip hop, that's Black culture. Jazz, Black culture. Soul food, Black culture. Certain types of dress. I mean, we all know what culture is. But the problem is that your pundits are out there trying to make it look like Black culture is represented by thugs. They will pull out pictures and videos, and they will say, this is Black culture. You've got Black conservatives doing it. Rob Smith was doing it, which was very disappointing. I'm getting to the point where I'm done with him. I always try to give him the benefit of the doubt for some reason, because he doesn't always seem like the others, but this stuff makes him seem like the others, like the rest of Black Conservative Inc. And he tweeted something to the effect of, we really got to fix what's going on in Black culture. And he had a video of Black people beating each other up. He thought it was from the whole Miami Beach thing. Turns out it was a video from 2019, but still the point gets made. When Black people fight or beat each other up or beat up white people, these people love the Black man bad narrative. So they're going to post it up there, and you're going to get your people saying, what's wrong with Black culture? What's broken about Black culture? Now, mind you, none of these people actually want to do anything about it, right? They're not saying this stuff because they want to help. None of them want to help. Like 98% of them don't want to help. They just want to push that narrative because it gets them clicks. So all over Twitter, you're seeing tons of conservative right-leaning influencers talking about what's going on in Miami Beach. And in case you don't know, they had to declare a state of emergency for spring break. So I guess it got worse than from when I was there, because when I was there, it was fine. But I guess, once I left, they started wilding out. I was keeping an eye on them. I guess that's what was going on. But And yeah, it's an issue. I mean, hundreds of people got arrested. I mean, lots of people acting like morons, like stupid people, and like thugs. Yeah, they were acting like thugs. However, that does not mean that they represent Black culture. I was getting into it with Carmine Sabia about this, and these people are just so wrapped in this world that they don't question what they're being told, and they think that they're actually coming to this conclusion by themselves because they see what's going on. No, none of these people have actually done the research. So they love the 1350 statistic, right? 13% of Black, or despite making up 13% of the population, Black Americans commit 50% of the violent crimes or whatever. Of course, they don't want to go further than that, because when I came back at them with what is the percentage of Black people who actually commit those crimes, it's less than 1%. And we're supposed to be talking about this at some point. He did invite me to come on his podcast. We haven't worked out the details yet. But even when you break it down specifically to young Black men, like Black men my age and younger, I'm 40, the percentage is still so minuscule. And the thing is, it's not that we don't need to take care of that, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that that's not an issue that we need to fix, but Black people are already working to fix those issues. But for something to be considered part of a culture, wouldn't it have to be something that's practiced by most people in that culture? Or at least a big chunk. I mean, at least 40%, 50%. I mean, among young Black men, you're talking less than 10% actually commit these crimes that they're talking about. Now, again, that's an issue, but instead of pretending that that represents all of Black culture, why don't we just be honest about it and say, hey, this doesn't represent most Black people, but there is an issue. Let's see what we can do to fix it. Nope, your pundits don't want that. That is the last thing that they want to say. They want to say that those people that you see on those videos, that is the average young Black man that we see today in America. That's average. That's par for the course. And I even saw that some of that tendency to just immediately, it's almost like, what can I compare it to? It's almost, it's like an impulse for these folks. Like, they have to say negative things about Black people. They need to believe it. I'm not, a drug analogy would be too far. It's not like a drug to them, but it's like it's like a Rottweiler that's been starved, and you put a steak in front of him. He wants that steak. That's how badly these people want to bash Black culture, because the suggestion that maybe Black people are good, you should see the reaction I get. They don't want to talk about Black people doing good things, because when that happens, guess what? Guess what I get? Oh, why do you have to bring up race? Why do you have to bring up the fact that they're Black? Or, like a brilliant young Black woman, wins a tournament or does something amazing or invents something or raises money for people on the street. And I say young Black woman, or I'll just tweet out the headline. It won't even be an article that I wrote. It'll just be an article that I tweet out. Well, why is Black in the headline? Like, why do you have to talk about the race of the person? I'm just glad that it was an American doing this. Yeah, right. But if she was shooting up drugs on San Francisco street, you would sure as hell want to talk about her race now, wouldn't you? People say this stuff without thinking. And I know this because a lot of times when I point that out, a lot of white conservatives who say this stuff, they're like, yeah, you know what? That is kind of hypocritical, isn't it? I didn't think about that. It's because of what they're being fed. So what I started doing, excuse me. What I started doing, and I'm going to do more of this, because I actually used to make sure I wrote articles on positive news. I haven't done that in a while, but in a lot of those articles, I made sure that I featured the people that I wrote about were Black, so that conservatives would at least see that Black people do good things. It's even sad that I have to do that. Like, it's not that they don't know that Black people do good things, but that's not front of mind. What's front of mind are the problems with the Black community, because that's all they hear about from the media that they consume. And by the way, the left-wing media does this too. So either way, they're going to portray us a certain way. But what I've been doing is I've been tweeting a positive article about something positive that a Black person did, whether it's them starting a business or mentoring young Black men or whatever. I'll just tweet it out, hashtag this is Black culture. I'm going to be doing that every day. at least 1 or 2 stories a day. This is Black culture. Hashtag this is Black culture. It's funny. I started doing that yesterday and I was doing it today. And most of the responses were positive. So I'm going to be fair here. But I still had some of them like, well, why is it going to be Black? Why can't it just be Americans doing good things? These people were so butthurt at the notion that I would post something positive and say, this is Black culture. They tried to argue with me about it. They're like, no, this isn't normal in the Black community. The Black people don't do stuff like this. And they don't do good things. This is an outlier. No, it's not. This is normal Black people do. Black people are normal just like you. We do good things and we do bad things. It's not just white people who work in food pantries. Black people do that stuff too, believe it or not. Crazy, I know. Black people start businesses. They like capitalism. I know, that's insane, right? Right? So yeah, I'm going to put that in their faces. But wouldn't it be kind of cool if it wasn't just me doing it? Felicia was out there doing it. What if other people do it? You don't have to be Black to do it. If you happen to come across a story that shows a Black person doing something good, just tweet it out. You don't have to. I mean, it's up to you. But I think that the more positive images we can infuse into the culture, especially into conservative culture, the better it will be. It will be easier for me to convince these folks that they've been lied to for decades. I mean, if you're like, say, 50, 60, 70 years old and you've been a conservative and you've been consuming a lot of conservative media, you have been lied to about the Black community. Even if you're younger, it happens. So it's like I always say, most of the stuff isn't because of racism. It isn't because a lot of white conservatives are racist. That's not the case. Some of it is a small percentage. Yeah, I'll acknowledge that. There is a small percentage of white people who are just racist and they hate saying positive stuff about Black people. But the rest of it is just ignorance. And again, what do we say about ignorance? It's not a bad thing. It's not an insult. All it means is that you don't know what you don't know. And they just don't know. They may, if I were to say, do Black people do good things? They'll be like, yeah, of course. But that's not front of mind. They think that most of Black culture is thuggery, is hip hop, even though tons of white people listen to hip hop. They think it's drugs, even though Black people don't do drugs or commit drug crimes any more than any other race. That's why I'm doing this stuff, because the way you fight ignorance isn't with bashing people. I'm not bashing white conservatives. Like I said, most of them are not, the vast majority are not racist. They just don't know what they don't know. And they're going to learn today. I'm going to make sure they know. But again, there needs to be more of us doing this, right? And the reason I delineate white conservatives in this example is because in order for this to work, in order for us to change enough minds on the right when it comes to the Black community and the brown community and Asians too, we need white people who want to help. And I think there are a lot of white conservatives who would love to see a different approach. They would love to see a fresh perspective. Yeah, see what I did there? So yeah, so before I move on, I'll check the chat, see what you got to say. Julian still wants to take over Cuba. Let's see. Yeah, who would think this would make Black people want to cross over? You know, and the thing is, when you think about it, common sense, when you're using common sense, it doesn't, you can't rationalize that. You can't square that circle. None of this was going to make Black people want to come over. And I'm telling you, I talk to Black people and they tell me this is the kind of stuff that makes them not want to consider coming to the conservative movement, despite the fact that they agree with us on a lot of issues or a lot of foundational issues. Let's see. Oh, y'all are still on Lauren. Okay, wait. Oh, come on, Julian, really? No comment. No comment. You're trying to get me in trouble, dude. That's not cool. Wait, let me get past this. Yep, Aja Smith. Don't get me started on that with Black culture. It is literally embarrassing that the right thinks it's rap, crime, and drugs. You know, but it should be embarrassing to them. I mean, the fact that they are so way off with it, that should be embarrassing. But again, that's what happens when your media lies to you. And again, I don't even think that everybody in the media who perpetuates these talking points and stereotypes, I give them the benefit of the doubt. A lot of them are just ignorant. Again, they don't know what they don't know. So there's one group who is just ignorant, right? Then there's another group who just doesn't care. They're just going to post this stuff, whether it's true or not, because it gets some clicks and they can get the bag. They can get that clout. Like Felicia said in her video, they get the bag and you get the punch because you're the one who gets punched for this stuff, white conservatives. This reflects badly on you. I know it's not fair. Like, it's not fair. You shouldn't generalize, right? But we can't complain about the left generalizing us when we generalize black people, right? So if we stop doing that, it makes that harder. So these people shouldn't be reflecting on you. And the reason why they do is because people don't see white conservatives repudiating this stuff. They're either silent or they're agreeing with it, or there might be a few who say, no, that's kind of racist. We don't need to be doing all that. Let's see. Black culture is the accomplishments. Yes, Black culture has had a lot of accomplishments, and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. It's interesting. I mean, when it comes to Asian culture, we can talk about the good. Nobody has a problem with it. What about all those suicides that happen in Japan? I mean, Asian countries have their issues, right? There's a reason why they're coming here. So every culture has its issues. It's not just Black culture. All right. Rap music is actually poetry in motion. The rhymes, the bars, and the punchlines. Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, not all hip hop is gangster rap. I mean, a lot of hip hop, there is a lot of positive hip hop. I know that is not what is pushed into the culture, but there's a lot of good underground music. I need to start getting back into that because when I did listen to a lot of hip hop, I wasn't listening to the mainstream stuff. I'm kind of picky about it. That's why I don't do a lot of hip hop. It's just not my cup of tea. Like Cardi B is not my cup of tea. I don't want to hear about your WAP. That doesn't mean anything. I want to listen to somebody who's actually saying something. You know, like Tupac, he wrote music that actually said stuff. So that's what I like. So Aja, I listen to rap. Yeah, I know you're a thug, Aja. I know you're a thug. You don't need to, to tell us. I get it. I'm just playing. So one more thing I wanted to talk about was the mass shootings. And we still need more information to come out on that. So I'm sure I'll be talking about this again. But we already see what's happening, right? First, the far left tried to race bait with this, right? I mean, even when the first one happened in Atlanta, I mean, there are people who are still saying that he was motivated by race when there's no evidence of it. I mean, he shot 6 Asians, 2 white people. Said it's because he had a sex addiction. To me, it sounded like he had mental issues. And I know people are going to get mad because I said that a white mass shooter has mental issues. I mean, it's kind of clear from the narrative, right? From what happened. If information comes out showing that he had animus towards Asians, I will change my position. But right, as far as right now goes, the guy was a nut job. He needed help. Same thing with the second guy, apparently. They both had mental health issues, and we're not talking about that. And I know that, that's not the narrative when it's a Black person. And that's a separate problem. That doesn't mean that we don't talk about mental health because the media is racially biased. I don't know. I mean, they're using it to push gun control, right? There is nothing in Biden's anti-gun platform that would have prevented either of these shootings. I mean, because even when you talk about red flag laws, right, for mental health, that's not going to catch a lot of this stuff because we're not really set up that way. And we don't have as much of an emphasis on mental health as we should. But other than mental health, really, the only other way to really stop this stuff is for people to be able to shoot back. I mean, I know people on the left hate to say that or hate to hear that, but it's true. I mean, you look at what happened in Sunderland, Texas. A guy walks into a church and starts shooting a bunch of people, drives off, possibly to go kill more people, but a guy with a gun stopped him. There are actually plenty of those stories. And the CDC did a study saying that there are between 500,000 to 2 million defensive gun uses per year. A lot of people on the left don't like that study. But one, it's a government study, and y'all love the government, so you can't dispute it. Because here's the thing, even if it were half of that, like let's say at the lowest, it was like 250,000 defensive gun uses that saved a life. it's not worth making it harder for people to own weapons. And mind you, in the vast majority of these cases, the gun isn't even fired. It's just used as a deterrent. If a guy wants to shoot up a place, but he knows that people in there have guns, they're less likely to do it. There was another church, actually, just recently, I think it was either last year or the year before, this guy pulled out a shotgun and shot a person in a church. Another guy here in Texas, he was armed, pulled out his pistol and shot him in the head. Took care of it. Lives saved. There were no gun laws that would have prevented that, but the guy with the gun did. Now, does that mean that it's guaranteed that anytime that there's good people with guns that lives are going to be saved? Nothing is guaranteed. These laws wouldn't be guaranteed, and what the scenario I'm talking about wouldn't be guaranteed. But it's far more likely that lives will be saved if somebody has the means by which they can defend themselves. And making it harder for people to do that is not going to solve this problem. So, yeah, I mean, the left is going to push this issue because they want gun control. They have ulterior motives. They know that this isn't going to help anything. They're not stupid. They know that these laws wouldn't help anything. They're talking about ending the filibuster. I mean, I've got Move On emailing me trying to grift off of it, saying, give us a donation. And by the way, support us as we try to end the filibuster so we can ram through this anti-gun legislation. It's not going to do anything. And it's never going to do anything. Unfortunately, they might actually succeed this time at ramming that stuff through. And then, but they're not going to stop there. That's the problem. After that, they're going to try to ram through other stuff. It may take another 5 years, 10 years. But their ultimate objective, in my opinion, is to make sure that they outlaw as many guns as possible. And the thing is, most gun violence, homicides, are committed by people who obtain their weapons illegally. So that's not going to help anybody except gang members, except for people who actually need to be stopped. So we're going to keep an eye on this because the fight is happening right now. They're already talking about the filibuster, so I'm sure I'll be talking about this again. But it's important. This is another issue, by the way, that is best fought with education. I'm sure you've seen videos of certain pundits or certain proponents of the Second Amendment talking to people on the left about guns who are against it. But most of these people who are against guns and who want these guns to be banned, they don't even know anything about guns. They don't know the truth. They don't know that we're not talking about actually fully automatic machine guns where you're like going, they actually think that that's what those guns are, and they're not. They don't understand that it's just, one pull, one shot. That's just one aspect that they don't understand. But I've seen that when they get the education, they're more like, oh, okay, well, maybe this doesn't make much sense. Because if you pass those laws, it's not going to do anything. Yeah, you can take away AR-15s. Most mass shootings are carried out using handguns. That's not going to do anything. So again, we just need more education. And I will say that a lot of the Second Amendment crowd, they are pretty good about educating people. I think they still need to be better at it, especially as time goes on, because the left is going to try to make sure that people are ignorant about this. But they also need to step up their messaging game to make sure that more people aren't convinced to limit gun ownership. Now, I was going to talk about Falcon and I can't talk today. And Winter Soldier, but I kind of want to watch it again first before I talk about it. So instead, I'm going to talk about Justice League. I watched that. I watched all 4 hours of it, and I thought it was great. I thought they did a really good job. The first movie was trash. I'm surprised I even got through the whole thing. And to be fair, I'm not really a big Justice League guy. I'm more of a Marvel guy. The Justice League, I'll take it. I'll take it if it's there. If they make a movie, I'll watch it. Because I love Batman. I love the Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter especially, and then Superman, of course. But that first movie, it just didn't do it. And by the way, I do think that Ben Affleck does a really good job playing Batman. He's not better than Christian Bale, but he's almost there. First off, I love Ben Affleck in general. I think he's a great actor. But that first one, seeing the second movie just reminded me of the garbage that the first one was. I know that the Snyder version could not have been released in theaters, right? It's 4 hours long. I'm sure they could have chopped it up and made it better. And I even think that this one could have been done better as well. But they fleshed out the characters a lot better. I think that they just in general did a much better job of kind of showing you where it's going to go. I like the black suit that Superman was wearing. And it really drew out the relationship between the characters, even though they're just meeting. You can kind of see the beginnings of the relationship that they'll have later. I will tell you what I didn't like, and this is probably too late for this, but there's going to be some spoilers, but not a whole lot. Near the end, where they had Batman talking to the Joker, I wasn't a fan of that Joker. Like the laugh was all off. He sounded like a seal. Like it's just they need somebody else to play the Joker, or the guy that played him in that needs to play him a different way, because that wasn't cutting it, Chief. And I'm saying that because I love the Joker. He's one of my favorite villains. You have to do that right. And what that was, that just it just didn't work for me. But I don't know where it's going to go from here. I don't know if they're going to do another Justice League, or if they're just going to reboot stuff, or if they even know yet. I was really hoping for a new Batman movie with Ben Affleck where he goes against Deathstroke, because that was supposed to be a thing. And they even had that at the end of this movie as well with Lex Luthor. But I would love to see Batman go up against Deathstroke. We haven't seen that on the screen yet. I mean, we've seen most of his villains, but Deathstroke, we haven't seen them go one-on-one yet. And I was looking forward to it. So I hope that in some world, in some way, in some time, in some universe, we will see that happen. So yeah, I'll just leave it off there. And I guess next time I'll talk about the first 2 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really loved the first episode, but I didn't pay enough attention to it to where I could really dive into it. Let's see what you guys got to say. What, ICP? No, I do not like ICP. No. Kendrick Lamar, I can listen to. I can listen to Kendrick Lamar. It's been a while though, so I don't remember anything that he made. Nas, I got his most latest one. I like that Super Black song. Great stuff. I might listen to that tomorrow. Let's see. What else we got? I wonder if it's more cynical than simple racial bias. My sense is the elites are empowered by our division and continual ethnic hatred. Yeah, I think you're right about that too. I think that is definitely an element. I think that's why the establishment has always pushed these talking points about Black people. They know it's divisive and they don't want Black votes. I'm not talking about everybody in the establishment, but I mean, if you look back, 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, I've been a conservative for 15 years and they've been pushing these talking points, knowing that they don't work, knowing that they do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. I do think that they want us divided because it's like I said, Key Bono, who benefits from us being so divided? It's the elites, and the elites on both sides, on the right and the left. So yeah, I do think that that's an element as well. Let's see. Second dude was Syrian, not white. Well, no. Whenever you're a mass shooter that the left wants to exploit, you're automatically white. That's it. That's how it works. He was an Islamic Syrian white supremacist. Oh, these people! I tell you, like I don't understand how we lose to these people, because I mean that's the thing. I mean, I can laugh at them all I want, right? I can laugh at them for thinking that this guy was a Muslim Syrian white supremacist, but then I have to remind myself that we lose to these people pretty frequently. So then I stop laughing when I think about that. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, defund the police, but the police will be the ones to do buyback and red flag laws. Yeah, they'll fund them for that, definitely. Well, he only killed white people, so not racially motivated. But it's kind of funny how race is defined by what's on the census. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous too. I mean, really, Syrians are not white. I mean, I'm sorry, they're just not. I don't think that most of them would even identify as such. Yeah, and he only killed white people, so not racially motivated. You never know. I mean, there might be some wacky way to pretend that this was racially motivated. Now, if there was, they would have done it already. Uh, let's see. What did you think of Will Smith Deathstroke? I don't think I've ever seen Will Smith played. Oh, you're talking about no, you're talking about Deadshot. I never watched the Suicide Squad, so I don't know. I heard it was horrible, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Yeah, Red Hood. I hope that they make a movie about that. That'd be awesome. But they really need to do something with Batman because I mean that's just too great of a character. I mean, I know they had that Robert Pattinson movie that was coming out, but then the COVID happened. That preview looked tight. Like I hope they continue with that. I think it is supposed to be coming out this year, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And again, I'm skeptical about Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne, but when I saw that preview, I was like, oh, this might work. I had the same attitude with Ben Affleck. I was like, I love Ben Affleck, but I don't know if he can play Batman. But then I remembered when he was in Daredevil, which that wasn't a good movie either, but it wasn't a bad movie because of Ben Affleck. I thought he played the part well, and Daredevil has some similarities to Batman. So I figured maybe he'll do a good job, and he did. So hopefully I'll be surprised. Let's see. The old man bombs Syria. The one shoots us up. Revenge? Could be, but what it's sounding like is that he had mental health issues and he was tired of being teased because of his religion. Yeah. I know Syrian isn't a race, but Arab is, all right? Gosh. You people just correct me all the time. Let's see. Yeah, Deadshot. Deadshot is a guy that has that thing on his wrist that he shoots people with. Deathstroke is Slade Wilson. That's a totally different guy. He's a badass. Sometimes he's a bad guy. Sometimes he's an anti-hero. But he's kind of like Deadpool, but he's not immortal. He can be killed. But he's got the two swords. He's got, a billion guns that he uses. I used to love him when I was a kid. Most of the good Batman actors aren't great Bruces. Yeah, I didn't think that Michael Keaton was a good Bruce, but I thought he was a good Bat. Val Kilmer, he was okay. Same thing. But again, that movie was so bad that, I mean, it probably wasn't even his fault. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to talk about George Clooney, obviously, because that's blasphemy. I actually think that Christian Bale did a good job playing Bruce as well as Batman. I think Ben Affleck did too. I will give them their props on that. Then we can't forget Kevin Conroy, doing the voice of Batman in the animated series. But yeah, good conversation. So we'll be doing it again. But thank you guys for showing up, and please share this. Please share this as much as possible. I really appreciate it. I'm almost to my goal as far as watch hours on YouTube and subscribers. So I really appreciate that. Again, please support me in my locals.com community. You can get there afreshperspective.locals.com. Again, only $4.99 per month, and you'll get content that you won't get otherwise. And again, one-time donation, you can do it here. But I really appreciate you guys staying with me, and we're going to have some fun with this new branding that I'm doing. I think I have a lot of cool stuff coming up that I'm not talking about yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll be making a difference. But until next time, keep your minds free.